to invite Professor Dr. Preeti Saxena ma'am, Vice Chancellor, National Law University, Shimla, and the chair of today's session. Professor Dr. Preeti Saxena ma'am is a distinguished academic and administrator with a career devoted to legal scholarship, research, and leadership in higher education. Her work reflects a deep commitment to fostering academic excellence and strengthening the legal fraternity. Her exceptional contributions to academia have been recognized through honors such as the Best Academician and Administrator Award 2016 and the Best Publication Award 2013, along with her selection for the Ministry of Education's Leadership Program in 2019. Her dedication to advancing inclusive and innovative legal education and preparing students to address contemporary socio legal challenges continues to inspire generations of law students. I now request Professor Dr. Preeti Saxena ma'am to deliver her concluding remarks and formally conclude the session.
Thank you, Rakshita. So, good morning to one and all. My thanks to Professor Seema Singh, Professor Gunjan, Professor Alka Chawla, the entire Central Law Campus University of Delhi for visualizing this wonderful project Kartavyam. And I'm also feeling very, very proud to be associated with Kartavyam as one of the partner. I'm also very much honored to listen the constitutional visionaries, Honorable Shri Ranjit ji, Shri Venkat Ramanji, and my colleague Professor Uday Shankar ji on the 75 years of the Constitution of India. The discussions so far were on the judicial interpretation of constitutional provisions, judicial activism, like Article 370, One Nation, One Constitution, cases on the fundamental duties, on their enforceability as per the text of Part 4A vis-a-vis Articles 13 and 37 in Part 3rd and Part 4th, respectively. However, I'll try to see Kartavyam on 2 points. The concept of dharma, kartavya, and seva that we know have been embedded in law, morality, and culture for millennia. And second, the constitution that was originally enacted in 1950 had no separate chapter on duties. So basically, this raises two central questions. One, how were duties an integral part of India's knowledge system, knowledge traditions, and why did the Constituent Assembly, despite this heritage, not place duties alongside rights in the original Constitution? India is the nation in the world which is having a long history of democracy. In 1950, we have all seen the birth of the world's largest democracy. And here we see that citizens, they have a reputation for carrying out their duties and obligations. The kartavya of an individual is the fulfillment of his or her duty towards the society, towards the nation, and of course, towards the parents. And we know that this has been emphasized since time immemorial, as rightly observed by Professor Gunjan Gupta also, regarding the viewpoints and opinion of many of our distinguished leaders, authors, jurists on the duty part, as rightly Mahatma Gandhi's opinion about duty, that the very performance of a duty secures us our rights. So there is no need to have the right. If we perform our duty, that will surely result in our rights. So rights cannot be divorced from the duties. So this was the viewpoint, and we are also having all this in our culture. Rightly told by Swami Vivekananda also. He's also observed that it is the duty of every person to contribute in the development and the progress of nation. So nation is on the upper hand, and we have certain duties towards the nation, towards the society. And we see that the 2 points which I have raised regarding how it is embedded in our culture, so we find that India's intellectual heritage is grounded in a duty oriented worldview. The idea that the individuals are bound by the duties towards the society, towards the nation, uh, and this predates modern legal system that the Constitution of India we are talking about. And this approach can be seen in multiple sources, where from we have this duty concept in our culture, in our tradition. If we see the Vedika, the Vedas and the Upanishads, so that we have a tradition. In Vedic thought, dharma is not merely a law; it's a moral order. It is an order that is governing the cosmos and the human behavior. So duties are embedded in the life stages also, like various ashrams we are talking about, or various social roles that ensures that each individual has to contribute to the collective good for the society, for the nation. If we see Rig Veda, then we find that Satyam, Vada, Dharmam, Chara, these are some of the values which are there, the duty of speaking truth or the righteousness and to service to the society. And again, if we see the Upanishada, then we find that it is speaking of the self discipline. It is speaking of learning and respect for the parents. It is speaking of the respect for the teachers. And this is also talking about the obligations of the students, brahmacharya ashram. So, in our Vedas and Upanishads, we find that the Kartavya was there as the basic value. Then, if we see then the epics and our history, itihas, if we see, then we find that our epics like Ramayana, Mahabharata, they are replete with the narratives where characters face moral dilemmas about their duties. And we all are aware about the Bhagavad Gita, where the Krishna's counsel he counsels the Arjuna to fulfill his swadharma, personal duty as a warrior, even when he was emotionally conflicted. Karvanya Vadika Raste, we all are aware about that, that you have the right to perform the actions, your actions, but you are not entitled to the fruits of your actions. So these were the things which emphasizing on the nishkarm or nishkam karma, that is performing the duties without any attachment to the fruit. So this was also one of the concept which is embedded in our culture in which we are living. Then if we see our smritis and dharm shastras, then we find that the texts like Manu Smriti and Yajnavalkya Smriti, that also codifies duties for the rulers, for the citizens, for the householders even. And they regulated all these to regulate the social life. And these were the duties which were said to be sometimes the reciprocal obligations also, so that the rulers had the duty towards the citizens and the citizens have also the duty to obey the laws. And in that way, that is basically to uphold the societal order. So all these were found in our texts which were available now. And along with that text and dharmashastras, if we see that during various times, whether it's the time of the Buddhism or Jainism, so they have also contributed towards these types of the ethical values, which is known as the karuna, that stress upon the compassion, or that stress upon the ahimsa also, to not to harm the others. So these were certain things which I found that they are the part on which all these duties centered as a guideline. If we talk about the Jainism, then we find that vratas, various vratas, or with its vows of truth and non-violence and restraint. These are equally focusing about on the obligation over the rights. During medieval time also, if you see the bhakti saints like Tukaram, Mirabai, Kabir, so you find that their stress is always on the moral duty to love, to serve the society, and to uplift the fellow beings. So this is all transcending caste and creed, and the very purpose is service. That is seva. That was both a spiritual and a social obligation. So if you see your tradition, if you see the bhakti saints, if you see the contributions of the Buddhism or the Jainism, if you see our Upanishads or our Vedas also, so everywhere it is replete with the sense of kartavya. It's an obligation, it's a service, it's a seva, it's a breath, it's a karuna, it's a ahimsa, whatever you say. So we find that this moral duty is always available there. So we find that in essence, the Indian traditions they never treated duties as optional virtues. They were the moral foundation of the social life, and that social life that was governing the society. But if we talk of the modern constitution discourse in India that we have adopted, we have enacted, we have taken to ourselves or given to ourselves on 26th November 1949, and that has been enforced from 26th January 1950. So it often focuses on rights, civil rights, political rights, social rights, economic rights, and cultural rights. Yet the Indian philosophical and social legal tradition has long placed these duties at the heart of the social harmony and the governance. As I was hearing Shri Honorable Shri Ranjit Kumar ji, who has rightly said that the rights are coupled with the duties. And I'll just try to give one example that how these rights are coupled with the duties and why we were not having the duties in the original constitution. So just take the example of Article 19, Clause 2. Now, Article 19, Clause 1, that provides us various fundamental freedoms: freedom of speech and expression, freedom to travel, freedom to reside, freedom to assemble and association. So, all these type of freedoms are there. But if we see Article 19, Clause 2, then you see it just provides for the restrictions. And these restrictions are nothing but these are the duties towards the society, towards the nation by putting sovereignty, integrity, friendly relation, decency, and morality. That you have a right, but your right is restricted. And that restriction is nothing but that is a duty. And that's why, as rightly told by Shri Ranjit Kumarji, that rights are coupled with duties, and therefore I find that the constitution makers initially they found that it's a time that all the rights are to be given but not the absolute rights, and that's why any of the restrictions upon that is to be considered as a duty. So finally, I would say that the duties or the kartavyas that have been the central to India's moral, legal, and philosophical heritage, whether it be the ancient texts, epics, religious traditions, or uh, even pre-colonial and colonial governance also, they all emphasize the obligations over the entitlements. So entitlements or rights are secondary, but obligations and duties are the basic for a social order, for a society to be governed by the rule of law. Hence, the only thing we need is to activate ourselves. This is the time that we need to activate ourselves towards what are our kartavyas. And I appreciate that this is a visualization of Delhi University, particularly Department of Law, Faculty of Law, that they have come forward with this vision that we are talking only about the entitlements. We are talking only about the rights. This is a time that we must also emphasize upon the obligations. We must perform our duties, because this time again we need to fulfill those vision of Mahatma Gandhi, that to do our duty is a right. So we should not wait for the rights to come, we should perform our duties, and this is the time to activate ourselves towards this kartavyam, towards the duties. We have to follow our duties. This is enforceable or not enforceable doesn't matter. It is we that we have to perform, because nowhere, as rightly observed by Professor Uday Shankar ji, that nowhere it is mentioned under Article 51 capital A that whether it should be enforceable or not enforceable. These words are missing in the text. It only speaks about it shall be the duty. And if we see the judicial interpretation, shall always means that you have to do. And that's why we need to be activated ourselves. We need to disperse them among others also, that this is the duty. You have to perform your duties. So once again, I congratulate Team Kartavya, and particularly Professor Seema Singh ji, for this very, very thoughtful project. And I am very, honored and privileged to be associated with you. Thank you very much.
Thank
Thank
you
you,
so
ma'am.
much. Rakshita, now we can start with this question.